Hello, we are back.
With B1 Marriage Ministries. So part of our determination is we want to be more relevant with marriages and to kind of share some things, some conflicts, things that are actually relevant, right, in marriage instead of just...
It's always relevant.
Okay, relatable, relevant, but like really, really relevant, you know?
Sure.
So today's topic, without further ado, is...
Stress
in marriage.
Oh my God.
Yes, right? So navigating your marriage through stressful seasons. And we've all had them, and they're more pronounced in different times than others, and they can just come like a cluster, and that's when you have your arguments usually, right?
Right.
Is when it's stressful. So,
Well, your energy, your focus, your attention, it's being diverted.
diverted. I like that word.
Whatever is currently coming at you.
Diverted, like...
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so stress, definition.
Right. Okay, this one right here is this definition.
Yeah, no.
A lot of lines up
Yes,
here.
Adam, start with your definition. Start with your definition, and then we'll go with the actual definition. Adam came up with it while we were chatting this morning while I was drinking my coffee, and I was like, he came up with a definition of stress.
Right.
And I like it. Yeah.
To me, my definition is stress is anything that disrupts your normal daily flow in a negative way.
Stress is anything, I like that. Disruptors.
Right.
Disruptors. That disrupts your normal daily flow, and I love that, especially for an example. I'm going to read the regular definition, and then we'll go to our little example. So stress, the dictionary defines as a state of mental or emotional strain resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. In other words, pressure. So I like the word state because if we think about water, like water can either be in a solid state, like it's frozen, right? Like sometimes we can have that response when we're under stress, we just freeze or we fight, or it can be liquid. And so stress, just like as the temperatures ebb and flow, the state of our emotional well-being ebbs and flows according to circumstances sometimes. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's go back to your definition. Can I say it? Oh, such a good definition. All right. Stress is anything. I like it can be anything because it can be anything that disrupts your normal daily flow. Well, can we just give this stress can be like monumental or it can be in the everyday ordinary.
Right.
Like an example that we had just this past week.
Okay, so everyone's got pipes in their home.
Yeah, I hope so.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we had a pipe that leads away from our kitchen sink it's got a clog in it. There's probably grease or who knows what built up over the past couple decades.
And the water's it's the kitchen sink was not functional. Like you put water and it just kind of floats in there.
The normal daily flow has been disrupted.
I think it may have been from my royal icing. I like to bake cookies, and I don't.
Who knows what gets dumped down that
I
sink?
was probably the source of the disruptor.
Could be.
Yeah. So I'm going to be more cognizant. But anyway, sorry, back to that. It was a disruptor because I couldn't really use... It was more of a stress to me because I'm the one that usually uses the kitchen sink. And so we're having to be more on paper plates, not use that. But then it was a stress to you because you were doing what? You were trying to blow the line out.
Fixing it.
Yeah.
So, I'm a DIYer by fault. So, of course, I've got drain augers, drain bladders. Snaking the lines, right? Pouring dissolvents to help eat up the enzymes, the bacteria and all the organic stuff that's probably accumulating down in there.
And so anyway, in one morning, you're doing this before you're going to work, that's the disruptor. You're doing it bright, early in the morning and after work.
Sure.
Instead of resting.
Yes.
Instead of resting.
Getting up earlier, trying to hurry up. I can access all of our pipes in our garage. So I'm pulling the car out of the garage, getting my ladder set up, opening up a part of the pipe so that I can get my drain auger in there.
With your goggles, because all the water's going to splash out.
Get that part done. Then my next step is to put the hose in there with the drain bladder to force some water into the pipe.
And the water goes in your work clothes.
Right. So I get down. I was on the last step thinking, I'm going to, be done here in a minute and go on my merry way.
And you got doused like the winning coach of Alabama, right? With the national championship. You got the big Gatorade bucket.
Built up pressure in the pipe, came back, and, all that stuff that she's been dumping down the drain came at me all at once.
Sorry, babe.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional. But it did cause an adverse impact. But I love that. So stress is anything that disrupts your normal flow. So, okay, so let's just get to it. How do we navigate? So the effects of stress is you're going to have more tendencies towards arguments because you're tired, you're worn down, you're not, at your optimal mood and capacity. So what are some tips that you would say if you are in a stress, whether it's like circumstantial or something even more stressful? What are some tips while you're navigating in marriage, relationally?
Right. So it's a hierarchy of needs that you need to think of. When something is taking X amount of energy, you need to prioritize things that do matter and things that don't matter.
Okay, I like that. Prioritized, right? Prioritize. Because some things just don't matter. And I like what you said, because if you're going to put your energy towards something, it needs to be towards like overcoming the problem together, because you're either going to put the energy towards like complaining on the matter, or you're going to put your energy towards how can we united as a team overcome this. But you cannot do both.
Right.
You can't do both at the same time. I love that. So prioritize, like if you maybe prioritize, you may need more sleep practically too during that time. Don't wear yourself out. Realize, try to hold down the fort, I guess, during that time. I know you said to be cognizant. I like that word.
Right.
To be cognizant if the enemy is coming in through arguments, right?
Well, recognize in those moments where you're being, pressed
Tested.
by whatever is coming at you in that moment. Just be aware that's how the enemy comes in. It could be your spouse, making a friendly recommendation that you don't want to hear about at that time. And so we may lash out or be short, in those
a friendly
moments.
Recommendation, unsolicited advice.
Right. So
do I do that sometimes? Probably.
Extending each other grace in those situations is helpful as well. It's pick and choose your moments. You may, let's say you're trying to deal with a stressful situation and a spouse comes in and they're trying to help. And it may not be something that you feel is helpful in that moment. It's it's working against you. At least you feel in that.
And I think especially for men, I'm always oh, just do this, and you're trying to concentrate on the topic. Yeah.
When guys, for instance, when we're working on a matter, everything just needs to kind of step away.
You're in the box.
Leave me to it.
Yes. So just being like you said, being cognizant that this, and there's many times that either you or I have been hey, this is the enemy. We need to stop. We need to realize we need to gain our composure. I think operating in self-control in those moments, extending a lot of grace and understanding, knowing that we both have different temperaments. One person may be stronger in one area than another, and that we all have our give way, our tipping point, our pressure points, and just being understanding, would you say, during that time?
Right, we're supporting each other.
Yeah.
If there was something that she was better at, I'm not necessarily going to make advice. I may be like, how can I help you? Let's say she's making dinner for us and she's busy in one area, instead of just watching, just jump in there and be like, okay, what can I do to help you and assist you?
I like that.
Don't make recommendations. Just ask, how can I be of support?
That is such a good question. Being more intentional in the other spouse's love language, you really brought up a great point, because when we're more intentional and more staying connected is key, I think, to navigating stress. You have to stay connected and be more intentional than ever in tapping into the other's needs during that time.
So you can't have two chiefs in those situations.
Right.
There has to be one who's taking the lead and the other one that's being a source of support.
And Adam, I will say, when he says taking the lead, his taking the lead is being a servant's heart, and he does step in, and his leadership is like he said, how can I help during that time? It's not bossy. It's how can we make this go more smoothly?
Right.
Which is good. Yeah. So there has to, when there's pressure, really there has to be a pressure counterbalance. In the spirit of your marriage, when the pressure is negative, you have to have that positive internal force to overcome. So, and stress is different for each person. But I think what you said, didn't you have like a chandelier example? Do you want to share that real quick?
Another example, right? So we're shopping for a chandelier for our living room, and one of the product information on there is the max watt rating. 240 watts is what this fixture is rated for.
So in layman's terms, explain that.
Layman's terms, it's when you're putting light bulbs or figuring out what's the most brightest light bulb that I can put on a light fixture.
Capacity.
What's the capacity, right? You don't put 10 60 watt light bulbs on a 240 watt light fixture. It's going to overwhelm it, and so you have to work within the range, the capacity for that fixture.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with life. You have a unique capacity load, and you go from one strength to another, right? So when we're starting off in marriage, small things may get the best of us, versus now 5, 10, 15 years from that point in time, our stress load has increased. We can handle things better. Things aren't as big of a deal as they were back then. And so you need to identify your current stress load and not necessarily stay way below it, but find those limitations. And over time, you'll find that you have a greater capacity. It's like exercising. You're putting stress on your body to increase your strength and your ability. And so there's good stress and there's bad stress. And so identify those areas. What's positive stress in my life? What's going to be negative stress? Right. What's going to cause me to grow? What's going to cause me to diminish?
I like that. Well, thank y'all so much. The other thing I just wanted to chime on in real quick too is a lot of times my capacity seems to be a lot lower than Adam's, but he considers me during those times. And so whether one's more weak or one's more strong or whatever the case, it's about keeping that bond of love intact and unity. And really, that's all we have for you today. So if we were long-winded, I'm sorry.
We try to keep these short.
So have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
All right, take care.
Bye.